I had a conversation the other day with people at the airport about rideshare, and they didn't know I was a driver. I think you're going to be interested in what they had to say. Hi, Mark with UberHints.com. What's this rideshare stuff all about anyway? If you're not a driver yet and you want to know about the bonuses and incentives that go along with joining up with Uber, go to UberHints.com and find out. There's money on the table waiting for you. For the rest of us, what's this conversation I'm talking about? Well, I had a unique opportunity to talk to people at the airport who had no idea that I was a driver. And the subject turned to tipping. Well, actually, I kind of guided the subject to tipping. And I wanted to find out what people's real thoughts were with tipping Uber and Lyft drivers when they were caught off guard. They didn't know that I was, a driver. I never did tell them. And it was really interesting. We were sitting around baggage claim at the airport, and I got to talking to a group of 4 or 5 people. And the conversation turned to Uber. And I asked them, well, do you tip your driver? And it was amazing that I would say 3 of them immediately said no, and 1 or 2 hemmed and hawed. The ones that said, yeah, maybe, said, well, maybe if they help me with my bags. I said, okay, what if you don't have any bags? And one of them just kind of didn't have an answer to that one. And the other one, I went on to say, those drivers are independent contractors. They have to pay for their vehicles and gas and oil changes. And he shot back, yeah, well, so do taxi drivers. To which I responded, well, you tip your taxi driver, don't you? And he was caught a little off guard because I think he realized I was right. But his answer was some kind of diatribe about, well, they choose to do that job, and this is America, and if they want to find another job, they can go ahead and move to Russia. I mean, it was just crazy. Because I think he was trying to justify the difference between, on one hand, he would tip a taxi driver, but on the other hand, he wouldn't tip an Uber driver, even though he was getting a better ride, a faster ride, a more efficient ride. In fact, this was the same guy that was talking about, when I'm at a place, sometimes it's hard to get a taxi and I can't find the number to call. Then I have to wait for the cab to come. But if I want Uber, all I do is put my app in a minute, there's the Uber driver. And I'm thinking, you just got done telling me how great this service is, and yet you're not going to tip the guy? And, I just thought this was really an interesting insight. And then this was the capper. One of them said, well, Uber is supposed to be cashless, and that's why I don't tip them. So I said, you mean because there's no way to tip them in the system? And he said, yes. And to me, that spoke volumes, because he was saying the thing that kept him from tipping was that there is not a tipping function in the app. Now, I think we all knew this all along, but finding it out from a disinterested third party that, well, I guess they're not disinterested because they're riders, but they're certainly not interested from the same perspective we are, that we want the money, right? I thought that was really enlightening. I didn't go on to ask about things, other incentives like giving out water and candy, which, I just think is a ridiculous, absurd idea. And I know you're going to argue with me, and I know that but I think that you guys that do that are brainwashed, because this idea came completely from Uber. It came from a company that says, we want you to spend your own money giving people things, so they'll benefit from it. And I don't agree with it. I think our job is not to give them freebies and try to bribe them to tip us. I think our job is to do the very best we can in a professional, polite, courteous manner to get them efficiently from point A to point B. That is our job. All right? So I'm getting off the soapbox with that one. I know that some of you are going to blast me for it. Have at it. Go down to the comment section. But I just think that when we set up expectations, what's next? You're going to shine their shoes for them? I mean, come on. Bus drivers don't do it, cab drivers don't do it. Why in the world should we start? What's next? Are we going to, give them steak dinners? We're drivers, for crying out loud. That is our job. 2 days later, back to my story, I ran into another young lady at the airport. And again, she didn't know I was a driver. But when she was on the phone, it was actually an acquaintance of mine. And she was on the phone with her mother, trying to say, well, I heard her saying, take an Uber, take an Uber. Her mom was, she's been ill and she had to get to her doctor. I said, take an Uber. And when she got off the phone, I said to her, oh, you're trying to get your mom to take an Uber? She said, yeah. I said, do you take Uber a lot? And she said, pretty much. When I'm on the road, I do. And I said, do you tip your driver? And she said, I tip my Lyft driver more. I said, why? You got it. Because they have a way to tip in the app. And she even told me, she went as far as to say, I will typically use Lyft. If I can get a ride just as fast, I use Lyft instead of Uber. I said, how come? Because of the tipping function. Here is a young woman that wanted to give us tips, but there was no way for her to do it without, getting out the filthy lucre. So she chose one over the other. And she said, well, Lyft and Uber is pretty much the same. And I'm thinking, of course it is, because most of us drive for both. We have the same vehicle, we have the same mindset and the same skills. We're the same people that do both. That's why it seems the same. And she would actually choose one over the other because there is a tipping function. As you know, months and months ago, I predicted that I think there was going to be a tipping app. Actually, a lot of that, I'll kind of tip my hand here a little bit, talk about tipping. A lot of that was based at the time on Jeff Jones. He gave some hints during that tragic Q&A session that he had. He kind of dropped hints that there was going to be you can go back and see it online if you'd like and see what I'm talking about, and a tipping function was coming. Well, of course, now, bye-bye Jones, he's gone, as are so many executives. And so I don't know if I'm still as confident in my prediction at the time, but we'll see. I still think that there are some reasons I haven't gotten into that Uber still may add a tipping app, and I hope they do. Well, it's open for discussion. I have a feeling I know what a lot of you are going to say to me after this one. But go ahead, leave your comments down below. Please give me a thumbs up. I don't want a thumbs down. Go somewhere else if you want to give me a thumbs down. Leave a thumbs up. I would love it if you'd subscribe to me. And I'm Mark from uberhints.com. Thanks for joining me.